I freaking love coconut oil. I think at this point we all know that coconut oil is up there next to God. Okay. I use it for everything. I cook with coconut oil. I use coconut oil in my hair. I use it on my skin. I use it in my soap making products. I use it in my body butters. And one of my most favorite practices to use coconut oil with is actually oil pulling. I use this every day faithfully to oil pull. And I'm sure at this point, if you're in the wellness world, you've probably heard of oil pulling. But officially, from me, oil pulling is an Ayurvedic practice where the oil is swished in your mouth for about 10 to 15 minutes. And the belief behind it is that it pulls and draws toxins and bacteria from your mouth and other systems of the body. Oil pulling is done every day for maximum results. You should do it as soon as you wake up and on an empty stomach. And so I'm going to be sharing my experience with oil pulling. I'm going to let you know everything that I know about oil pulling, um, who I think should oil pull, why I think they should oil pull, and just how to be the best puller you can be. But I'm going to tell you why I think you should add this into your wellness routine. When it comes to oil pulling, I think one of the biggest questions that I get is like, well, why would I want to swish oil in my mouth every day? And honestly, I would say the same reason that you use mouthwash. People use mouthwash to essentially give their mouth a more thorough clean, and to just freshen their breath. But what if I told you that if you oil pull it consistently, that over time you wouldn't have to mask anything with mouthwash. Over time, coconut oil definitely like changes the chemistry of your mouth. I think that anything chemistry slash ecosystem, I think that coconut oil is going to get to the root of the problem, and it's just very balancing in nature. So, yeah, let's get into it. In terms of holistic wellness, in terms of true wellness, I think that coconut oil is way more effective and way more safe than mouthwash. I think that my personal issue with mouthwash is that it's just made of a bunch of chemicals and it burns. And it's just a temporary solution to a more deep rooted issue. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that my issue with mouthwash is simply that it's not effective. I don't believe it to be effective at all. Um, what if I told you that oil pulling can have a significant, long lasting impact on the quality of your oral health? What if I told you that? What if I told you that your oral health is only the gateway to your general health, like the bigger picture? And one is just one of the gateways. What if I told you that there is a relationship, a correlation between serious systemic diseases and the quality of your oral health? What if I told you that the quality of your oral health could put you at a higher risk for things like diabetes and heart disease? What if I told you that? I know that sounds crazy, right? But what if I told you that? Would you believe me? What if I told you that things like gingivitis, periodontitis, cavities could actually lead to things like diabetes and heart disease? Now, what if I'm not here to prove that or dive deep into that? The internet is free. But I will say that I do believe that to be true. I believe that all systems in the body are interconnected and they work together, and that the mouth is only one gateway. Now, I expressed that I love coconut oil, but you can actually use sunflower oil, sesame oil, or coconut oil to oil pull. It just has to hit a few checkpoints. The oil that you're pulling with should be organic in nature. The bottle should say organic, and it should say either cold pressed or unrefined. It's really just all preference. I started out with this coconut oil and I just never left. Um, I love it. I actually have this on hand in about like 3 or 4 jars just because I use one for hair, I use one for skin, and I use one for the mouth. And that's just kind of how I do it. I don't know. And please know that if you do choose coconut oil, unrefined coconut oil, it is naturally solid in nature. Um, so when you buy it from the store, it's going to be solid in the jar that you get it from. Up until it hits about like 78 degrees ish. For context, I live in Florida. My bathroom is pretty warm, so my oil stays in a liquid form most of the time because I keep it in the bathroom. So it's just always ready for me. If you live in a colder environment and you need it to melt more quickly, you could put it in a microwave, but I never need to do that. My bathroom is probably at like 70 degrees, to be honest. I hear a lot of people say it's time consuming, and that's just simply not true at all. It's the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning. And I swish typically for about 15 minutes. At this point, I don't even need to time it because I've been doing it for so long. I just kind of have that feeling of what 15 minutes feels like. So when I wake up and I get out of the bed, the first thing that I do is grab the coconut oil. Like I said, I keep mine in this. So what I've done is I pretty much put like a small hole in it and just throw it back. Just throw it back, okay? Um, yeah, that 15 minutes, I mean, this is kind of like a hands off task. So I'm just doing other things. I'm doing my hair or I'm doing whatever, like whatever is going to get me out of the house. 15 minutes is not a lot of my time. It's not time consuming. Stop saying that. Stop lying, y'all. First of all, I pour enough oil in my mouth for me to effectively swish around. I don't need to measure anything. So, yeah, you'll start off swishing, pulling it in between your teeth. Another thing I wanted to say is that sometimes, this is a hack, sometimes, because I hear people say things like, well, the oil can't get through my teeth and things like that. I mean, that's why we floss. But a good hack is that if you want to loosen up some of the debris in your mouth, you can floss first. That's actually a really good hack. You can floss first and then you can swish. Um, so while you're swishing, you're gonna swish for 15 minutes. Make sure that you don't swallow. Um, if you feel the need for mucus to come up, like you feel mucus somewhere in here that needs to come up, you simply pull it up and continue swishing with it in your mouth. Because my way of thinking is that I'm like just collecting everything and then I'm gonna spit it out. So just because you feel mucus, it doesn't mean that you need to stop. It doesn't mean that um, you're doing it the wrong way. I would just pull it up and I would just keep going, to be honest. I would say that if you feel mucus, you're actually doing it right because that's one of the biggest benefits that I notice. Like, it's going to pull that mucus up out of your chest, up out of your sinuses, wherever it is, it's going to pull the mucus. And y'all, I don't know the science behind oil pulling, but it works. That's all I can say. So, okay, you're swishing for 15 minutes. After those 15 minutes, you want to spit the oil in the trash. No matter what type of oil you decide to use. If you use sesame oil, if you use sunflower oil, coconut oil, it all needs to go in the trash because oil is going to clog up your pipes. I feel like this is something that everybody should know, but maybe not. Just like when you're cooking, you wouldn't pour some oil down your sink. And especially with the coconut oil, that's the one that solidifies. So let's say you did pull with that oil and you spit it in the sink. If those pipes, the environment around the pipes goes over 78 degrees, the oil is going to solidify inside of those pipes. So just don't do that. So, anyways, you're swishing for 15 minutes, you're pulling it back and forth, moving it around. You want to make sure you get your gums, like, these places here, up in here. Um, you want to make sure you get the back of your mouth. Like, just don't be shy about moving it around. After those 15 minutes, you're going to go spit it in the trash. After you spit it in the trash, you should go brush right away. There shouldn't be any delay. Like, if there's something that you have to do, continue swishing with it, because the idea is that you just pulled all these toxins and bacteria. So once you spit it out, you're going to clean your mouth immediately. You're going to brush. What I like to do as soon as I spit, because you want to make sure you don't swallow anything back down. You know what I'm saying? Um, what I like to do is I like to brush immediately, and then I will kind of like rinse with peroxide. This is personal preference. Using peroxide is something that I saw my mom do growing up, and she just always had like really white teeth. So I kind of like grew into that. Like, I use peroxide. I like the way it makes my mouth feel. So I will rinse with peroxide, and then I will use a tongue scraper, and then I will rinse again, and then I will floss. Um, I'm also a firm believer that if you are going to oil pull, you should be pairing it with tongue scraping. You should be pairing it with tongue scraping. It's not up for debate. Um, just do it. That okay? Now that the oil has loosened up everything, now that I have this debris at the surface, I'm gonna clean. I'm gonna use the tongue scraper for a more effective clean. Um, and let me show y'all my tongue scraper. So I think you can see it here. This is the Guru Nanda brand. And yeah, I love it. I think that tongue scraping just contributes to better oral health. It just does. Just do it. Some people say that oil pulling whitens the teeth, like how I mentioned the peroxide, because I think peroxide is the thing that whitens my teeth. But a lot of people swear by the fact that oil pulling whitens your teeth. I personally don't think so. I think it decreases plaque, but I can't say that I've seen a significant difference in the color of my teeth because of oil pulling. I can't say that.
And the reason that flossing is important, oil pulling or no oil pulling, is just because you don't want that stuff sitting in between your teeth. Those are the things that's creating and breeding bacteria and turning into the halitosis, the inflamed gums, the gingivitis. Plaque and buildup needs to be manually removed. Don't forget that. That needs to be manually removed. Whether you're oil pulling or not, please floss.
So the routine is you will swish, you will spit, you will brush, you will scrape, you will rinse, and you will floss every single morning. No days off. I have been pulling for years, and here are some of the main benefits that I've noticed. And here are the reasons why I will continuously oil pull. Fresher breath, without a doubt. It just, oil pulling gives like, baby, it went and got the root cause. It's pulling the root cause up out of there. Um, Even like, and I've heard other people say this too, it just changes the chemistry of your mouth. It just makes for a more healthy environment. Things like morning breath is like morning breath, but it's not morning breath. You know what I mean? Or things like a stale breath. Like, you just overall are gonna carry a cleaner breath, a cleaner smelling breath. Um, when you oil pull, it just hits like that. Um, Number two is it is going to rid the body of mucus. While I'm oil pulling, I can literally feel it coming up. Um, I can feel it. I also had my daughter oil pulling, and she's 11 for context. She's 11. I do not think that kids under 5 should be oil pulling. or just younger kids in general. I don't think that they should be doing it. But when I first started making her oil pull, um, she would start sneezing immediately, and that to me is an indicator that things were like trying to get out. Literally like a mini detox, a mini like, I don't know, mini detox. I noticed that when I oil pull, with oil pulling, I've noticed that I'm not really a person that has a lot of congestion and sinus issues. Immediately after oil pulling and like brushing my teeth, that whole process, I immediately need to blow my nose. That's how serious it is. It will either come up through here or it'll come from the nose. And sometimes it's so deep in there that I need to like move my sinuses around because I can feel mucus, but it may not, it may need to be like, you might have to like manually get it up out of there, but I can feel it in my face. I can literally feel mucus in my face coming up after I oil pull. Another thing that I notice is while I'm oil pulling or directly after, it is going to stimulate your bowels immediately. That's an indicator to me that it's working, and that's what I mean when I say it's like this mini little detox, daily detox, and I'm all for the waste exiting, making its way out. And in my personal experience, oil pulling definitely stops the progression of cavities. I've heard people say they've gotten rid of their cavities through oil pulling. That's not my experience, but I don't doubt it. My experience is that it stopped the progression of a cavity. And sometimes you will feel that like feeling of mucus needing to come up until you eat that first meal of the day. But up until then, it's kind of like the body is trying to get rid of something. But the mucus thing can be kind of annoying. But I do think the more consistent you get with it, because we all carry mucus or hold mucus from many different factors, but it will actually decrease the amount of mucus that you're seeing. You know what I mean? Um, I knew I was onto something when I stopped having sinus problems. I don't have sinus problems at all. And me being a massage therapist, I come across people like almost everyone has some type of sinus issues or mucus issues, definitely. So
I'm not saying I think I'm better than them, but baby, I oil pull. Like,
I think that people with swollen or inflamed or red bleeding gums, I think that people with gingivitis, I think that people with halitosis, I think people who eat a lot of sugary food, I think people who smoke should be oil pulling every single day. Um, you should be oil pulling for your life, actually. I think that in general, oil pulling is oral health maintenance and wellness. It's just something that needs to be there. You don't even have to be a candidate for it. Even if you don't have the cavities or the inflamed gums or red gums, bleeding gums, whatever. Even if you don't have any of that, you can still oil pull just for better oral health and better general health. There are no contraindications or side effects from swishing oil in your mouth compared to like mouthwash and stuff. Now, with all of that being said, I will say that if you have an aversion, you want to oil pull, but you have an aversion to the texture or the taste, there is a product on the market that I think is very beginner friendly. And you may have heard of the Guru Nanda pulling oil, um, because it's really popular. The brand is really popular, and honestly, I think that that brand has brought a lot of awareness to the practice of oil pulling in general. But they do make a pulling oil. It comes as a fractionated form of coconut oil, which means that it doesn't solidify at all. It's just in a liquid form. Um, they sell that. And they do come flavored with essential oils. I think that the one that I had was like cinnamon and something else. And the essential oils just makes for a deeper cleaning of the mouth, a deeper sweep. If you know anything about essential oils, they're super powerful. Powerful. I think they also have a spearmint version, so you got a couple of options with that. It does come with a measuring cup as well. So if you're one of those people who you just need good directions and numbers and things like that, like kind of like a guide, that product is really good for that. That's why I consider it beginner friendly. I'm more so of like, I do this every day, so I'm just gonna throw it back. When I cook, I don't measure. I don't measure a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? So my way works for me. But I did try that Guru Nanda oil because I just wanted to try it. Like, they have a pulling product, so I tried it. I think that it's a really good product, but because I'm such an OG to pulling, um, I don't like I don't like the price for the amount of oil that I'm getting. So my Spectrum jar of coconut oil actually lasts me a lot longer, and I do think that it is more aggressive. I would say that the Guru Nanda lasted me for about 2.5 weeks ish, versus my Spectrum coconut oil that lasts me all month. And I will say that I'll also say that if you want to travel and things like that, like the bottle, the Guru Nanda just makes it more convenient for you to like carry all that stuff with you. You know what I mean? I will always go back to Spectrum. I will always go back to Spectrum. I think that I personally just enjoy a good, unrefined, thorough pull, and that's the product for me. But check out that when it comes to the Spectrum, it's all tens across the board for me. The texture, the taste, the consistency, the potency, it's all tens for me. And if I ever do want a deeper clean, I can just add essential oils to my oil. A little clove, a little spearmint, a little cinnamon, whatever it is that I want to use for my oral health, I can like do that. This is actually the toothpaste, the non-fluoride toothpaste that I'm using right now. This is the Jason brand. I love me some Jason. I love me some cinnamon when it comes to oral health, and this is what I use. I'm actually going to link my Amazon storefront, and I have an oral health board where you can find all the products that I use that I like, when it comes to oral health. So I put both pulling oils, the Guru Nanda, and I put the Spectrum. But you can also get creative and do your own research. You can find what works for you. You can play with it. You can experiment. I also really love Guru Nanda's floss. I use his, I want to say it's called expandable floss. Um, I use that floss. I love it. I linked everything in my Amazon storefront. And if you guys have any questions about oil pulling, maybe something I didn't cover, I tried to explain it the best way that I could, in the way that I do it, in the way that makes sense for me. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below in the comments and I will answer them, because I do think that I'm the oil pulling queen. And yeah, and if you do try it, just let me know how it works for you. If anything that I said in this video resonated with you, then don't think about it. Just go try it.